This is kind of sad. The NFL season is over. What are we going to do for the next 7 months until the NFL season is back? I guess we got to look forward to the 2025 NFL draft. So let's do a post 2024 NFL season mock draft today. So yeah, I did not expect the Kansas City Chiefs to get blown out in the Super Bowl, but shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. As someone that lives in Philadelphia, I got to be in the streets of Philly after they won the Super Bowl, and I will say that their fans were very happy with what happened in that game. I wish it was going to be a little bit closer of a game, and I thought it would have been between these two teams because of Patrick Mahomes and a very good Chiefs roster, but probably an even better Eagles roster. But either way, it just ended up being a blowout for the Eagles fashion. So yeah, let's go here into the 2025 offseason. 31 teams are going to try to figure out what they could do to become the next year's version of the Philadelphia Eagles. So we are on the clock with the Tennessee Titans, the #1 pick in the 2025 draft. Still smoke screen left and right. Are they going to take a quarterback? They're going to possibly be in the final year of Brian Kelly as the head coach if they can't figure out ways to take a step as a franchise offensively. And that worries me. I do wonder if they would go all back on Cam Ward and hoping he could be the guy that could be the next franchise quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. But they came out and said that they want to take the generational player in this draft. They're not going to pass up on the generational player. And that has to be Travis Hunter, right? Somebody that can play both sides of the ball. He could be an elite corner. He could be a very productive receiver at the NFL level. And maybe they're going to go into the quarterback market in day number 2. Maybe they're going to look at a Jackson Dart of the world. Maybe they're going to look at a Will Howard of the world and find somebody that they really like, either in the early second round or early third round. Maybe they're a Sam Darnold team in the offseason. Maybe they're a veteran quarterback team, or they take a flyer on a Justin Fields because they don't think it's worth taking Cam Ward at #1. Therefore, I'm going to spice it up a little bit. I haven't really done this yet. I'm going to take Travis Hunter with the #1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. So I know you can't operate with Will Levis as your QB1 next year. He still has to be at least a backup for you. But now you get a premier corner in this draft. L'Jarius Sneed, that acquisition in the 24 offseason was a disaster, but now you could try to get a corner 1, an elite corner in this draft, and then you can run some packages out there for your next franchise quarterback to have Travis Hunter as a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. And we are on the clock with the Cleveland Browns at #2, and I do think my next mock draft, I want to incorporate trades, but for today, maybe we're going to have the idea that Myles Garrett, who requested a trade, is actually going to get traded, and maybe the Browns think Cam Ward could be their next quarterback as well. But we're not going to have that. We're going to have them take Abdul Carter, who honestly, even if they keep Myles Garrett, could still be very well in play at #2. Now that they would have 2 elite pass rushers, one of the best in the game right now at Myles Garrett, maybe the best pass rusher in the game, and then you're getting the best edge rusher in this draft class, who had just a phenomenal college football playoff run for the Penn State Nittany Lions. And you can get Abdul Carter there at #2 for a team that's really just trying to figure out what quarterback it's going to be for them next year. Is it going to be Watson? Is it going to be a veteran? Is it going to be a rookie? Are they going to take a flyer on somebody in the offseason because they don't have a lot to work with cap-wise? So we're going to have them go Carter there at 2. And I just kind of get excited about defensive guys going at the top there. #1 pick defense, #2 pick defense. Let's go. And I'm sure all my Giants fans are very thrilled about the way that this draft has fallen, because if Cam Ward is here at 3, that is the easy pick for the Giants there, for Brian Daboll, for Joe Shane, to get their next guy that could hopefully help them keep their jobs for the Giants, because I'm sure John Mara, just seeing Saquon Barkley ball out for the Eagles this year and win a Super Bowl, hurts them even more. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing that up. Networks bring it up. Everybody brings it up that Saquon was a Giant. But either way, Cam Ward throwing it to Malik Neighbors would be a ton of fun to watch for the next 5+ years. And I think if Cam Ward goes 1 or 2, this is going to be Shedeur Sanders at 3. I do think the Giants are walking away with a quarterback in the top 3, unless there's just some crazy trade ups and somehow Shedeur and Cam are going 1 and 2. All right, so we're on the clock here at #4. I've bounced back in the past on who I like to go here. Honestly, Will Campbell could make a ton of sense for this team to protect Drake May, given how bad the offensive line was. I know you can go the best player probably available being Mason Graham out of Michigan. I still like Ted McMillan a ton to become a Patriot, just to give this nice big wide receiving option for Drake May if they're not going to be able to get one in the offseason. Because if you strike out on T. Higgins or Chris Godwin, the market's kind of rough. And maybe you can go into the trade market. Maybe you could be a Deebo Samuel team, Cooper Kupp, or a Tyreek Hill team for these veterans, but maybe Tyreek Hill could still move the needle. Probably not Debo or Cooper Kupp. And I do think they would end up going Ted McMillan here. I think Mike Vrabel wants to get his like AJ Brown version over there for Drake May in New England. So that leaves us with the Jaguars at number 5. I think Mason Graham is still an easy pick for them here. I don't think just because they have an offensive-minded head coach and Liam Cohen running the show, they're going to take anybody here at 5 on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe if they do think Will Campbell could be of use to them, that could potentially be a pick. But I think Mason Graham is the best player available, and that's where Jacksonville should go right now. I mean, honestly, for Vegas at 6, there could be a couple different options here. This could be Will Campbell, just to take a tackle, just to take a premier position there, but maybe not a position of need. Will Johnson, definitely a position of need. Could they look to go him here at number 6? Ashton Jeanty would just be the fun, exciting option for the Las Vegas Raiders and just gives Pete Carroll a very fun weapon out of the gate. Not sure if they would go that route, but what am I kidding? I'm just going to go Shedeur Sanders here. They get their quarterback. He gets to learn under Tom Brady. Dion gets his son in a big market, and I do think it makes some sense there if they could turn him to a good game manager in this league. I do worry about the offensive line right away. Could be inconsistent for him. He's going to have no run game. They don't address a running back, which I'm sure they would on day 2 for him. The receivers, not the greatest in the world, but you do have Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Would like for them to get another receiver, but I do think getting Shedeur Sanders would be big for the Raiders' future in terms of excitement. So that leaves us with the Jets here, and I think it pretty much comes down between Will Johnson and Will Campbell. One of the Wills here, what do they prefer with DJ Reed becoming a free agent? And once they hit the open market, it's going to be tough to keep these guys sometimes when they find out, oh, teams are willing to pay this much, and then you could bid up the asking price between these teams, and they're going to have a little bit of cap hit that they're going to take that's going to make them a little bit restricted with Aaron Rodgers most likely getting cut. So for the Jets, I'm going to have them take, you could say he's the best corner in this draft in Will Johnson, or he's number 2 after Travis Hunter. So the Jets get that guy right there at number 7. Or, you know what? I'm like going back and forth if I wanted to do that. You know, I'm going to take Will Campbell. I think just getting the premier position at tackle for them, I think would be huge for what they are trying to build going forward. And whoever their next quarterback is going to be, I don't think Morgan Moses is going to be the tackle for them. It's going to be Olu Fashanu. It's going to be Will Campbell. And then you're also going to have some solid guys on the interior in Joe Tippmann, John Simpson, and Elijah Vera Tucker. For the Panthers at 8, I think this is great for them that they're able to get Will Johnson. They could use another corner opposite of J.C. Horn in that secondary, and that could be Will Johnson. Everything I just said about him that made him very good. Obviously, that could just transpire over to Carolina at number 8. I think they want to go defense in this draft, and I think if Will Campbell goes before them, or excuse me, if Will Campbell goes before them, I think there's a good chance that Mason Graham or Will Johnson is going to be there, unless maybe there's a little bit of a slide for Ted McMillan. The Saints here at number 9, they can go a bunch of different options. I think they could look to try to address the offensive line. Could they try to get a playmaker? Maybe not the best idea. Team need is receiver. I mean, we'll see if it's going to be Olave and Shaheed next year, if they're going to look fully healthy. I'm just going to have them look to get the best edge rusher on the board. I mean, that could be a couple guys, depending on who you think. Maybe I end up going Armin Membu, or I have them go Kelvin Banks. I've mocked Kelvin Banks before. I'm just going to have them go Kelvin Banks. This team is going to be really bad next year, and that's fine. They haven't announced Kellen Moore as their next head coach, but it's looking like all signs are pointing in that direction, and they could just give Banks, who they could put outside a tackle, they could bump him into guard, and they're just trying to figure out what they could be in the trenches right now in the final years of Alvin Kamara, and then we're most likely going to get into a much different Saints team down the line. Here at number 10, I kind of love this. I kind of want to do it. I thought about Armin Membu here out of Mizzou to the Bears at 10, because that could be probably the most logical solution. I'm getting Ashton Jeanty. I don't care. I'm getting Ashton Jeanty for Ben Johnson. It's going to be like DeAndre Swift and Ashton Jeanty are going to be basically David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. We're trying to replicate that, and Jeanty is just miles better than what DeAndre Swift will be for you next year. But I'm totally fine if they ended up taking an offensive lineman. Maybe they end up trading down here just to accumulate some more draft picks. But hey, go out, get Trey Smith, reunite him with Ryan Poles in free agency, take him from the Chiefs, and we can get the best playmaker in this draft with the ball in their hands, and that is Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. And that'd be so much fun to watch with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, and Ashton Jeanty. That is a very good core 4 going forward. It could be something for you guys, which I think allows a very nice pick here for the San Francisco 49ers at 11, getting this absolute freak, this beast of an offensive lineman in Armin Membu to help protect Brock Purdy going forward. The offensive line isn't great either, and Trent Williams is getting up there in age, and Membu could be the guy that could just be there for a long, long time. Now, here we are with the Cowboys, with Ashton Dente off the board. I mean, this team, I don't think should go running back. Rico Dowdle was fine in the second half of the year, where I would just look to take a running back on day 2 or day 3. I think receiver could be an option here, and that's where Luther Burden could be, because they need another receiver opposite of CeeDee Lamb for Dak Prescott. Offensive line, if they wanted to go Josh Simmons here, if they ended up wanting to take an edge rusher, plenty of them still on the board, because this team has a lot of holes right now. So I'm going to have them go James Pierce out of Tennessee, just to get an edge rusher opposite of Micah Parsons. Hopefully Overshown is going to be healthy next year, and you're going to have playmakers there in the front 7. We're going to have Malachi Starks go 13 to the Dolphins. I have mocked this a ton just because of their safeties that are hitting free agency. I think this could be a perfect fit as well, but if they're not going to get Starks, I think they can go maybe a Walter Nolan, somebody like that, or trying to get one of the best offensive linemen on the board. Do they want to take Tyler Booker here at 13, the first true interior offensive lineman off the board? Maybe they end up going tackle as well, but for now I'm going to have them going Malachi Starks. I've been mocking that a ton, and I've also been mocking Tyler Warren to the Colts a ton. I feel like it just completes their offense and could just be another good weapon for Anthony Richardson, as Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are kind of all in on Anthony Richardson right now. And even if it doesn't work out, the next quarterback will have plenty of weapons between Pittman, Downs, Jonathan Taylor, still a solid enough O-line, and now Tyler Warren. I just wonder if everybody's mocking this and it makes so much sense, it's not going to happen. Could the Jets shock us at 7, or could the Panthers shock us at 8 and end up taking Tyler Warren? It's definitely a possibility. So I definitely got to go defense for the Falcons here at 15. I think I would like for them to get maybe one of the better playmakers on the board. I like Jalen Walker still a ton out of Georgia. I know PFF has kind of knocked him down a little bit. He has, gone pretty far low here at a 52 ranked 43 ADP, but I like Jalen Walker to still go in the first round. Everything I'm reading up on about him still, how good he was at Georgia this year, and I think he could just be a playmaker for Raheem Morris's defense for the Falcons next year, and that could be, Jalen Walker, who was pretty good the last 2 years, unless they wanted to go somebody else. I mean, there's plenty of guys on the defensive side of the field that could be in play here. It could have been maybe a corner in Siobhan Ravel or Benjamin Morrison. It could be Micah Williams, Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, or Nick Scorton. At 16, I'm going to have the Arizona Cardinals. They could also be an offensive line team as well, but I'm going to dress the trenches on the other side, and we're going to get Kenneth Grant from Michigan. I feel like he's got a wide variance in this draft. He could go as high as 16 to the Falcons. Maybe he can go to the Chiefs at 32. Who knows? And I like how I said to the Chiefs at 32. Obviously, that's the Eagles. Chiefs at 31. So we're here with the Bengals at 17. Could this also be a Luther Burden pick potentially with T. Higgins hitting free agency? But this team has to address defense. It was just so bad this past season. So I would like for them to maybe grab a corner because they really couldn't guard anyone. And if Mike Hilton leaves in the offseason, they could use somebody. So I think Jahdae Barron is probably turning into the next best corner in this class after Travis Hunter and Will Johnson. So let's take Jahdae Barron, and that would make me a little bit upset as a Steelers fan because I really want him to the Steelers. They're at 21. We're here with the Seahawks at 18, a team that has to take an offensive lineman here. They have to. It was so bad last year, and I would like to take somebody on the interior. So I think that's where the first interior offensive lineman off the board from a Tyler Booker going to the Seattle Seahawks. I think it makes too much sense for them there at 18. 19 here, I'm going to have Tampa address defense, and I'm going to have them go Mike Green, a standout from the Senior Bowl, made Josh Connerly look kind of silly at times, and I think it's just going to be this guy that brings speed, acceleration, force for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line. Maybe they go receiver. There's a chance if they do feel like they're going to get a good hint that Chris Godwin's going to leave, but I think they'll be fine with Evans, McMillan, and whoever else they want to just throw out there for Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to have them go edge rusher here in Mike Green from Marshall. We're on the clock here at 20 with the Denver Broncos, and there's two guys that I really like here, and I think one of them is Luther Burden, but the other one I like is Colston Loveland for this team, and I think the Chargers would love Colston Loveland at 22, but I think Sean Payton is going to try to snag him because he knows his division rival, his division head coach, or the rival head coach wants him as well, and Jim Harbaugh. So Sean Payton is going to get Colston Loveland to get a nice weapon, both in the blocking game and the receiving game for Bo Nix, because they need to take somebody out there, right? Like, it's just a hodgepodge of guys, and if we want to further along Bo Nix's development, I think they could add a weapon there. The defense is too good. The offensive line was productive at times this year, and yeah, they need a running back, Like, that could be in a Marion Hampton team, but I think you got to address some other positions, and you're going to look how deep this running back class is here. There's so many good running backs you can maybe get on day 2, day 3. I mean, maybe there's going to be a run on them between Hampton, Scatabo, Sampson, Johnson, and the Ohio State guys, because then there's probably a little bit of a drop off after that, and then you're finding which one you'd really like. If it's an Ollie Gordon super late, if it's going to be maybe a Jordan James out of Oregon or somebody like that, right? But I do think they could take tight end here and still address running back later on. So for the Steelers, maybe this is one of the more luckier mocks that I've done with them, where maybe sometimes it's Matthew Golden as the best receiver on the board, but here they could take Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka, and I'm going to have them get Luther Burden here at 21, which I do think is probably the lowest part of his draft value right now. I don't know if he would make it past 21 to the Steelers. And at 22, the Chargers could also be a team that looks to take an edge rusher, as like Bosa and Mack are going to eventually be on their way out. I kind of like them going a Marion Hampton. I kind of like Jim Harbaugh getting a beast of a running back here at 22 with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards hitting free agency. Cam Scatabo under Jim Harbaugh would also be just electric. I mean, they could also look for a receiver as well if they wanted to go Emeka Egbuka, but I know Green Bay would want one as well. I don't know if that's like somebody that could fit this system because of Vlad, and I think they could fill out guys that they need. That doesn't have to be a first round pick here on receiver. So I know, I mean, a first round pick on a running back really is probably less valuable. So you know what? I think I'm going to talk myself into Emeka Egbuka here, going to the Chargers at 22. So I think everybody's happy right there between these teams getting just weapons for, at least for Herbert, for Nix, and whoever the next Steelers quarterback is going to be. So the Packers, they kind of lose a chance on a receiver. Do we take Matthew Golden, the first receiver they were going to take in the first round in forever? Let's do it. Let's get Matthew Golden to the Packers there at 23. We'll see if he can end up being the wide receiver 1 for them. Ended up being the wide receiver 1 for them, better than Isaiah Bond this year. So we're on the clock here, 24 for the Vikings. I love a Marion Hampton to this team, with Aaron Jones being a free agent, but I do think there's some nice corners on the board, and I do think Minnesota should address corner here at 24, either Siobhan Ravel or Benjamin Morrison. I'm going to go Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame, but it's nice that they have either option still on the board. Texans at 25, I need them to take a offensive lineman. A receiver could make some sense for sure, but I'm going to have them go Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Banged up this year, but meant so much to that team, and I think could be a very key piece for the Texans, who need to protect CJ Stroud, who is getting banged up all year long. We're on the clock here for the Rams at 26. I'm going to have them go secondary here, just to add to that, and I'm going to have them get Siobhan Ravel, one of my favorite corners in this draft, out of East Carolina. So on the clock here at 27 for the Ravens, I don't think there's a good enough receiver on the board for them right now to take one in the first round with Matthew Golden off the board. So maybe they'd look into day 2. I'm going to have them go Micah Williams, get an edge rusher here. I think they could look corner, but they did take corner last year. I think Micah Williams, like Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, getting one of those edge rushers would be key for them. And with Kyle Van Noy getting up there in age, Micah Williams can help them out, fill the gaps going forward. We're on the clock here at 28 with the Detroit Lions. Offensive line could also be a position here. I don't know if there's a good enough interior guy that they would try to target this high at 28. So I'm going to have them go Shamar Stewart, another edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson moving forward. You can always use more edge rushers pretty much. For the Commanders, unfortunately, they can add a receiver as well. I kind of like them getting a Marion Hampton. Like, just feels like a massive upgrade over Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. But they're also a team that could look to, I could probably use another corner for sure. They could look to add another, another offensive lineman. But I want a Marion Hampton in the round 1. So I'm going to have a Marion Hampton go to the Washington Commanders, which is kind of fun with a read option game of him and Jaden Daniels. We're on the clock here for the Bills at 30. I'm going to address corner. I think we can get one of the better corners on the board. I kind of like Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky, but we're going to go Trey Amos, probably the last first round, most likely corner available. Chiefs at 31. I mean, we have to draft offensive line. We do. We just saw them get beat up by the Philadelphia Eagles. They may lose Trey Smith in free agency. So it comes down between, I think, Gray Zabel, Josh Connerly, maybe Wyatt Millam from West Virginia as well. But let's have them go Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. And then what do the Eagles need? Are we just filling in the Jahan Dotson spot at pick 32? No. I think you just draft what you should always draft more of. Corners and edge rushers. Maybe an offensive lineman with Lane Johnson getting up there couldn't hurt either if they do like Josh Connerly. I mean, Mekhi Becton is most likely going to get paid by another team in free agency, but I don't know if you would take a guard here at 32. You know what? I'm just going to have them take Josh Connerly. I think we just take offensive line depth. Maybe that's more important to get offensive line depth than it is corner depth or edge rusher depth for this team right now. So that is going to finish out my post-Super Bowl 2025 NFL mock draft. Let me know what you guys think for your favorite team that you could see on the screen here down below. Do you agree with your team's pick? Do you disagree? And if you disagree, hey, please let me know who you'd like to see your team draft in the 2025 draft. And then I'm going to take that into consideration for my next mock, which I'd like to do some trades in that as well. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already. Drop a thumbs up if you guys enjoy. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.